Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today I've got a personal project on the bench and it's something that I'm building for myself. A lot of times I'll build projects for various reasons, often for resale, but this one is mine and I've always wanted a 1983-84 Gibson Flying V. And they've just been a little bit out of reach for me, but I got a pretty good deal on this Husk of a 2023 80s Gibson V. And that's right, it's called an 80s V and it's based off of the 1984 Flying V. And really what it is, for me anyway, is a Husk that is as close as I'm going to get to an original 84 V. And I'm going to build this one in an 80s style. So I'm going to use 80s bridge and tailpiece, 80s tuners, 80s pickups, and I'm going to wire it as vintage as I can. It's a build to me that I plan to keep forever, and it may take me a little while to finish it just because I'm going to take my time with it. But let me show you the parts that I've got on hand. So for tuners, I'm going to use a set of Grovers. Now these are made in the USA, original 80s Grovers. I'm not super happy about the tulip head, but in order to get the 80s original pieces, this is one I found. So I'm going to use those. I'm also using a Gibson bridge from the 80s, and you can tell it's an 80s bridge because it says made in Germany on the bottom of it, and that means it's a Schaller piece. I've got the tailpiece to go with it, and I've got a set of 80s Tim Shaw pickups. These aren't cheap, but this is what I want to go back into my guitar just because I want it to be as original to an 80s V as possible. And the nice thing about having this Husk, and especially it being a 2023, is that it's going to be in really good shape. I'm not going to have to deal with any of the wear and tear that somebody else has put this thing through for 40 years. This one is basically brand new. Hopefully it goes together smoothly. Let's just see how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and start probably by mounting the pickups, running them into the cavity, and I may go ahead and mount some of the studs for the bridge and tailpiece, and then we'll work on the tuners, and then I'll probably wire it last. Alright, so I'm going to start out with these pickups. Now, like I said, I've got myself a set of Tim Shaws. Now this one I had to extend the lead on because it's a long way from this neck pickup down to the volume pots. And you do that on a pushback wire. Basically, you push back the shielding on this original piece, and on the extension piece you solder together the wire that's in the middle, put a little bit of heat shrink tubing over the top of that. Then you can pull the shields back together and solder those together. So that's what's been done here. So on these, sometimes I'll use vintage Forge or other brands of pickup rings, but I'm using all Gibson stuff on this build. Alright, and my bridge pickup has a little red mark on the wire. Okay, now I'm going to use the studs for the bridge and the tailpiece. Now I'm just going to check the fit of the bridge. Oh, that drops on like a dream. And the tailpiece, yeah, they both slide on just perfect. Now on the back side here, I've been wanting to try out some of my parts just to make sure that they fit, because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to get a different input jack at a minimum. But I wanted to see that if my switch was going to fit. The issue that I've been running into, at least with the jack, is that the body is too thick for the bushing on the top of the jack. That's caused me some issues with getting the nut on there. Now for pots, I'm using 525K pots from the Art of Tone. I've been using these on a couple of different builds recently, and I just really love the way that they come out in terms of tolerance. I think that they're a lot tighter tolerances than the 500K pots from CTS. I'm going to go ahead and get a reading on these just to test my theory. So that one is 539, 533, and 533. That's pretty good, folks. All right, I'm going to do a little test fitting of these just to see where they end up. I'll do that off camera and then I'll be back. So I worked out my pot placement and I've got most of the wiring actually already done. I'm just waiting on this jack to arrive. So got my tone control done with my orange drop. Got my 2 volume pots placed, the master switch here, and of course I ran my pickups, so I don't have a whole lot left. So the tuners that are going on here are Grover's, and they're a tulip style tuner. There's not much to installing these except you just unthread this bushing here. Then you drop it on, thread this through the face of the peg head. And then once you have that tight, you secure it with a screw in the single hole in the back. So the tuners are installed. I'll get you a still picture of those, and I'm going to go ahead and install some strings while I'm waiting for the rest of my electronics to arrive. So the strings are in place. Now I've got tuning to do, I've got intonation, action, all kinds of things really to do, neck relief. And I'm just going to wait on that jack to arrive. So the jack's here. I ended up going with the pure tone jack. It has a little bit longer throat than a normal Switchcraft. There is a Switchcraft long throat version, or L11 I believe it is. This was available to me a little bit cheaper than the Switchcraft, so that's the way I went. I used a braided cable to get that thing installed, and you can see the completed cavity here. Now I just need to install the cavity cover. The cavity cover is a 5-screw model. I'm not exactly sure what the number of screws was on the original 84V, but you can tell inside here that the shape of the cavity is not exactly original. Okay, well, if I'm being honest, I did a lot of the setup on the front of the guitar here when I was waiting for the jack to arrive. That was really the last piece of the puzzle, so it's essentially set up right now. I went ahead and set the action, and I set the intonation. I don't think I've done pickup height, so I'll finish that up. And also there's one other piece that I think I forgot to do, and that is I'm pretty sure I forgot to make sure that I could get a piece of paper in between the string and the bridge, and I can't. And I'm talking about the back edge there, so I need to raise this tail piece up until I can do that. This side's probably okay. Nope, it needs a little height as well. So I need to raise both of these posts, retune, then I'll just go ahead and check my intonation and make sure nothing changed there. Okay, and then just to check the intonation, I'm going to compare on a few of these strings the harmonic to the fretted 12th note. Yeah, that's all pretty good. And you can see the zigzag pattern there in the saddles. If that's not apparent, let me hold that up for you. There's the zigzag pattern there. Well, let's check out the pickup height and a few other small things. All right, so on pickup height, again, I've shown this on a Strat, but it's the same principle. Fret the last fret, measure from the magnet to the string. I played around with a couple settings on this. I've landed on about 4/64 as my desired setting. That's pretty close to the string really for a humbucker. It's just kind of up to you. One thing that I do whenever I finish setting up the 2 pickup heights, plug the guitar in, try the pickups in both settings and make sure that one's not louder than the other. So that's kind of the basics around pickup height. I checked the neck relief, it's okay. Again, check the neck relief at the 8th fret with the 1st fret with the capo on it and fretting the guitar around the 17th, and then checking in the middle here at the 8th. And you want 10 to 12 thousandths in my opinion, but it's a little bit dependent upon your radius. So I usually go with 10 on a radius like this one. Now I know this is almost exactly the same video that I did for the Antique Natural V about 2 weeks ago, and there's really nothing I could do about the order that these came in. I don't have a lot of projects going on right now, so I didn't have a lot to squeeze in between, but I thought, well, I'm building this for myself, so I'll capture it on camera. I hope you all like it. This one does sound quite a bit different. I won't do a full demo, but if you remember when I played the Antique Natural V, it really could not play very cleanly, and this one, I mean, it just rings on the clean settings, and of course it'll get really dirty when you want it to also. So I'm pretty happy with the way the build turned out. I mean, if I had to change anything, it would be those tuners. I don't like the tulip heads, but they're 80s tuners, so I'm going to keep them on there for a while, and maybe I'll come across some button heads or some kidney bean heads or something in the future and swap those out. I can't really think of anything else I really need to do here, but I definitely appreciate you guys giving me all the likes and the comments on the videos. I appreciate when you guys give me subscriptions, and I'll see you guys next time.